So let's start with a high-level overview. What is probate? And probate is a legal process that involves the execution of a will, or if there is no will, the administration of a deceased person's estate. And key tasks include securing assets, liquidating assets, settling debts, and distributing the remaining assets to the rightful heirs or beneficiaries. Now let's talk about the closing phase. In the closing phase, you want to, as personal representative, you want to prepare the final accounting. A lot of people freak out when they get to this point. If you have done your online banking and if you have been keeping track of your expenses, again, I would do all of mine through the debit card and through the bank account so that I had the ledger. All I had to do was download and it was ready to go. And then you just take that, you put it into buckets based on the form that your state wants you to use. There's going to be a big bucket for big assets like the house, probably another one for the cars. I call out anything that's collectible. And then I just have another bucket for personal property. If we did an estate sale, we know the value of that personal property because we got paid. If we did the online auction, same thing. When we donate, we were getting receipts. We checked with our accountant, so we have an idea of what the donated value of those items are. You just put them onto that final accounting sheet, and then if you are not working with an attorney, you send it directly to the court. If you are working with an attorney, your attorney will give you some tips and make it better. My attorney, I'm pretty good with my final accounting sheet, but my attorney always makes it better every single. I don't know if it's just because that's part of the billing process, but they always make it better. Now is when you distribute the net proceeds. So you've completed your final accounting, you're getting ready to close out the case. You now distribute the remaining money to the rest of the heirs. This is the day that a lot of those heirs have been waiting for, sometimes for months, sometimes for years. And when they get their money, they're not always going to be happy. And here's why. If you have not been communicating with them throughout the process, they do not realize all of the work that you've been doing, all of the expenses that you've incurred, how much it costs to close an account. All they know is that Zillow says you sold the house for $500,000. And they know that there's only two heirs, and so they should be getting $250,000. They're not taking into account the mortgage. They're not taking into account the monthly expenses. They're not taking into account the extra time that it took for them to have a yard sale rather than doing an estate sale. They're not accounting for the extra utilities you had to pay to keep the house on the market when you wanted to sell it as is. So they don't know all these things, and they might be a little frustrated, a little disappointed if this is the first time they're hearing about it. So again, if you've been keeping them informed throughout the process, maybe they won't be shocked here. But a lot of times they're and also I think there's an emotional side of it. It's kind of closure. They're disappointed. You're relieved that this thing is over, but some people are disappointed that this is over. It might have been dragging out for years and years. And so it's hard even when you distribute the net proceeds, and it's harder if you have not been keeping the family informed throughout the process. Then you work with the court or the attorney to close the estate. It's basically just submitting a form and the judge approving it. And at that point, you're done with probate, and it's time to try to repair your family relationships because those get strained throughout this process, even when you're doing a good job. And then last on the real estate side, I already mentioned this, but if you are keeping the house in the family or if you sold the house, make sure the title transferred so there are no surprises later on. Try to resolve those title transfer issues while you are the administrator, while the estate is open. And then when you close the estate, title should be transferred. You should be good to go. I know this is a very long and drawn out process. I did not include all of the steps. I tried to keep it high level. If you follow these steps and do these things in order or in close to order, you will avoid a lot of problems and a lot of stress. A lot of times in probate, in addition to family, the stress will come when you start doing things out of order. Okay, so I already mentioned this, but if you try to sell the house while you're in the pre-probate phase, it's going to cause a ton of extra stress and you won't be able to do it. You'll have to go back and start over. If you try to negotiate with the banks before you have your letters of administration, it's going to cause a ton of stress and frustration. If you are waiting to, if you're waiting to get the house cleaned out and repaired until you get some kind of approval from the court, again, lots of stress. You don't need court approval to do that, but you do need to keep a good record because someone's going to ask you about it at some point in time, right? So a lot of these things, if you just do them in order, probate is frustrating enough, but this will help relieve some of the extra stress and frustration that comes when you take these things out of order. And again, If you have the benefit of working with an agent who understands probate and the probate process, that'll help. Even if you decide not to list the house with a probate specialist, I highly encourage you to talk to one anyway, just to come up with an approach and a plan. And if I could do anything to help you find an agent to work with in your state and in your county, just drop me a link or an email or a text and let me know. And we'll do everything we can to help you get on the right path, even if you never sell a house with us. We're here to help you. So thanks and have a great day.